20 years after the end of hostilities in the former Yugoslavia, the Western Balkans are still marked by the conflict. The scars on the buildings mirror those borne by the victims. Ethnic tensions bubble under the surface and some schools remain ethnically divided. Bridging these divisions is the focus of a joint EU Council of Europe programme on inclusive education, mostly funded by the EU and run by the Council of Europe.
I don't care where someone comes from. The important thing is to have friends. It's not important who they are. The most important thing is how they are inside. We're all the same.
Saud, whose mother died and whose father has mental difficulties, has lived in this orphanage for 7 years. His primary school is a pilot of the inclusive education programme. Here, Saud has teachers trained to respond to his needs as a potentially vulnerable student, albeit a gifted one.
I'd like to be health minister. And if it doesn't work, I'd like to be a footballer.
Of the 740 students, 27 are Roma, 25 are orphans, and there's a range of ethnic backgrounds. The teachers follow a programme designed to help them work with kids with particular needs, requiring a different approach.
An inclusive school is a school that accepts any student, the gifted ones and the ones with difficulties. Inclusive means that lessons are adapted to the skills of everybody.
Extra activities, like this multimedia class, are held once a week, given by older and stronger students to help others. This smartboard had arrived only a week before we visited the school, but it was just the latest example of a well-organised peer support system.
I've helped in this tutoring workshop for several months. I love helping the others. That's why I'm here. All of us can be in a situation where we're not able to do something.
Several students needing special assistance have had customised learning plans developed for them. Adisa, who's Roma, attends workshops and one-to-one support classes as her parents cannot help at home.
I'm going to finish school in order to find a job. When I finish school, I'll go to university. And then, if I manage to get through school and university, I'd like to become a doctor.
Parents and teachers' workshops are part of the school's inclusive practices. Parents are increasingly involved in the learning process. Here, they work with teachers on how to identify children with special needs and how to deal with them as parents and teachers.
The cooperation between parents and the school, where we meet teachers more often, that paves the way for the children's academic success.
Our task as parents was to inform our children about the differences with other children, be it their physical appearance or their ethnic and socio-economic background.
For Adisa's mother, it was the first workshop she attended.
I'm not literate, so I want my children to learn all the things I haven't been able to.
The Inclusive Education Project, involving 49 schools across the Balkans, comes to an end this year. In Sarajevo, we met the Council of Europe's Secretary-General to find out what conclusions they've drawn.
You're using a bottom-up approach. Does this mean that you're aiming at transforming this project into a real policy?
We are using these projects in order to transform them into real policies for education in the different countries, so that one gets schools where people can work together.
A guy shot at police, so it's been
The EU contributed most of some €5.1 million spent on the project. We met the EU delegation spokesperson in the Bosniak Institute of Sarajevo, who told us he believed the project was a top priority for the region.
For the European Union, inclusive education is first and foremost a matter of universal human rights. We believe that the full inclusion of all members of society, and particularly the most vulnerable in society and marginalised groups, is essential for healthy democracy.
At another pilot school in the Montenegrin town of Plovdiv, we met secondary school students from urban and rural areas. The school has implemented a series of programmes on inclusion for teachers and students. Among them, the radio project Let's Open the Door, involving 15 students and several teachers.
Preparation started in December last year and intensified in April. The first programme was broadcast on the 23rd of April, the International Day of the Book. And since then, they broadcast every day.
Students work on the radio programme together, choosing mainly news-related topics. Once a month, they talk about inclusion.
Današnji program posvećen je inkluziji obrazovanju. Naša škola uključena je u projekat
29. april, na današnji dan. Tokom njegove vladavine ukinuto je kmetstvo, reformisani sudovi I data je ograničena.
As you see, this place is not really big, so we really have a bit of struggle, but it's all interesting. And it all goes spontaneously, which makes our work here even more fun.
I uživajte u ostatku dana. Prijatno.
I like to work with people, to speak to them. I want to have some influence on the youth and on the people. I want to share my experiences with them.
Every day these students go live for half an hour. Their programme is only broadcast within the school, but the entire school population tunes in and then discusses the content.
The future of the radio is to get our frequency and that we can go online. Also, what we want to do is to make not only our students to listen to it, but the people in the whole town.
Inclusive education is not about changing the learner so that he or she can fit more easily into a rigid education system. It's about having a system flexible enough to accommodate any learner. And that's what these students think an inclusive school should be.
The word itself, include, means being a part of a larger group where everybody are respected and valued for what they are.
I don't think all schools are inclusive, but I think we are building a community based on inclusive behavior, and also people feel more accepted, I think, nowadays.
I think that every children that are different, that they have to be accepted, and inclusive school for me is that we all belong together and that we are like one.